Have you ever wondered how the warming of our planet could alter the color of our oceans? Global warming. A term we're all too familiar with, but what does it really mean? It's the long-term increase in Earth's average temperature, and it's primarily caused by human activities. That's right, we're inadvertently turning up the heat on our own home. Now let's talk about greenhouse gases. These are gases that trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere. Much like a greenhouse traps heat from the sun, the primary culprits, carbon dioxide and methane. When we burn fossil fuels, cut down forests, or let our livestock release methane, we're contributing to the increase of these gases in our atmosphere. More greenhouse gases mean more heat being trapped, and consequently a warmer world. But how does all this relate to our oceans? Well, the oceans are like the Earth's temperature regulators. They absorb about a quarter of the carbon dioxide we produce, and over 90% of the excess heat trapped by greenhouse gases. But this comes at a cost. As the oceans absorb more heat, they warm up, and as they take in more carbon dioxide, they become more acidic. These changes have direct impacts on marine life. Warmer waters can lead to coral bleaching, a phenomenon where corals expel the algae living in their tissues, causing them to turn completely white. The increase in acidity can also harm shell-building creatures like oysters, clams, and tiny plankton that are crucial to the ocean food chain. Indirectly, these changes affect us too. Many communities around the world depend on the ocean for their livelihoods, food, and even their homes. As the health of our oceans decline, so does the well-being of these communities. But perhaps the most startling change is one that's visible to the naked eye: a shift in the color of our oceans. As the world continues to heat up, the effects on our oceans become increasingly evident, including a startling change in color. Now, imagine looking out at the ocean, and instead of seeing the familiar blue, you see green. Perhaps you've noticed the shift in color on the news, or maybe you're witnessing it firsthand at your local beach. This isn't a trick of the light or an optical illusion. It's a profound change, a transformation of our oceans that's happening right now. The oceans are turning green. But what's causing this change? Well, the answer lies in a microscopic organism: algae. These tiny plant-like organisms are responsible for the ocean's new hue. Algae thrive in warmer temperatures and increased carbon dioxide levels, both of which are side effects of global warming. Let's break it down a bit. When carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, is released into the atmosphere, it traps heat. This trapped heat warms the planet, including our oceans. As the ocean's temperature rises, it creates an ideal environment for algae to flourish. But it's not just about the heat. The increased carbon dioxide also acts as a sort of fertilizer for algae. You see, algae, like all plants, need carbon dioxide to grow. So, the more carbon dioxide in the water, the more algae can grow. And when algae grow in abundance, they create what's known as an algal bloom, turning the ocean from its familiar blue to a startling green. But this isn't just a matter of aesthetics, it's a sign of a major shift in our marine ecosystems. Algae blooms can deplete oxygen in the water, disrupting the delicate balance of marine life. They can block sunlight from reaching other marine plants, stunting their growth and affecting the creatures that depend on them. So, the green color isn't just a change in the ocean's palette, it's a warning sign, a flashing red light indicating that our actions are having a profound effect on the world's oceans. The green color we are starting to see signifies a major shift in our marine ecosystems. But why exactly are our oceans turning green? The answer lies in the science of phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are microscopic organisms that live in the sunlit layers of nearly all oceans and bodies of fresh water. They're a bit like the grass of the sea. They are the base of the aquatic food web, the primary producers, turning the energy of the sun into food through photosynthesis, much like plants on land. But these tiny organisms are playing a much larger role in our changing oceans. You see, as our world warms due to increasing levels of greenhouse gases, the oceans absorb a significant portion of this excess heat. Warmer waters create an ideal environment for phytoplankton to grow and multiply. But there's more to it than just temperature. The increasing levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere are absorbed by the oceans, leading to a process known as ocean acidification. This increase in carbon-rich waters also boosts the growth of phytoplankton. The combination of warmer, carbon-rich waters results in a massive proliferation of these tiny organisms, and as they multiply, they lend a distinct green color to the water. This is because phytoplankton contain chlorophyll, the same pigment that gives plants their green color, to aid in photosynthesis. But what does this mean for marine life and the overall health of the oceans? Phytoplankton blooms can lead to a decrease in oxygen levels in the water, potentially causing dead zones where most marine life cannot survive. On the other hand, a surge in phytoplankton can also feed marine life, leading to a boom in certain species. It's a delicate balance, and the rapid changes brought on by global warming could tip the scales in unforeseen ways. The explosion of phytoplankton populations is a clear sign of how global warming is reshaping our oceans. This is not just a color change we're talking about, it's a fundamental shift in the very life systems of our planet. The greening of our oceans is a stark visual reminder of the profound changes occurring beneath the surface. The greening of our oceans is more than just a color change, it carries with it serious consequences. As we delve deeper into the implications of this phenomenon, we need to understand that the oceans are not just bodies of water, but complex ecosystems teeming with life. The green shift is a sign of a significant imbalance in these ecosystems. Firstly, let's consider the marine life. Many oceanic species, from the tiniest plankton to the largest whales, depend on a delicate balance of nutrients and oxygen in the water. The greening of the oceans, primarily due to excessive algal blooms, can disrupt this balance. It could lead to a potential decrease in biodiversity, with some species unable to adapt to the new environment. Secondly, this imbalance in marine life has a cascading effect on the food chain. Many species, including humans, depend on fish as a primary source of protein. A decrease in fish populations could lead to a global food crisis, especially for communities that heavily rely on the oceans for their livelihoods. Moreover, the excess of algae can lead to increased ocean acidity. This acidification harms shellfish, corals, and other marine organisms that build shells and skeletons from calcium carbonate. In the long run, it could decimate coral reefs, the ocean's nurseries, putting the entire marine ecosystem at risk. Lastly, the process of algal decay consumes oxygen, leading to decreased oxygen levels in the water, creating what is known as dead zones. These are areas in the ocean where life cannot survive due to lack of oxygen. In essence, the greening is not just an aesthetic change, it's a symptom of a much larger issue, a stark reminder of the impacts of global warming. It's a warning sign, like a canary in a coal mine, alerting us to the damage we are inflicting on our planet. The greening of our oceans is a stark warning of the impacts of global warming. It's a call for us to pay attention, to act, and most importantly, to change. Our actions today will determine the health of our oceans and, in turn, the future of our planet. Global warming is not a natural disaster, it's a human-made crisis, and we have the power to mitigate its effects. The warming of our world, the greening of our oceans, these aren't the results of some uncontrolled natural process. Rather, they're the direct consequences of our actions, our choices, our habits. From the cars we drive to the food we eat, from the energy we use to the waste we generate, our daily life activities contribute significantly to global warming. Let's talk about carbon emissions. Our reliance on fossil fuels for energy is the primary driver of increased carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide traps heat, causing temperatures to rise and our oceans to change. Reducing our carbon emissions isn't just a good idea, it's a necessity. But how do we do that? One way is through a transition to renewable energy sources. Solar, wind, hydroelectric power. These are all sustainable alternatives to fossil fuels. They generate energy without contributing to global warming. By investing in renewable energy, we can reduce our carbon footprint and help slow the warming of our planet. And then there's the matter of our individual choices, the products we buy, the food we consume, the way we travel. All these decisions have an environmental impact. By making sustainable choices, we can reduce this impact. That means eating less meat, using less plastic, recycling more, and thinking critically about our consumption habits. But it's not enough to make these changes on an individual level. We need systemic change. We need governments, corporations, and institutions to prioritize sustainability. We need policies that promote renewable energy, regulations that limit carbon emissions, and a global commitment to fighting climate change. Remember, global warming isn't an inevitability, it's a consequence of our actions, and that means we have the power to change it. We have the power to ensure a greener, healthier planet for future generations. The future of our oceans and indeed our planet depends on the actions we take today. We all have a role to play in combating global warming and preserving our oceans. This is not just a call to action, it's a call to responsibility, a call to stewardship. Every choice we make, from the food we eat to the energy we use, impacts our planet. We can reduce our carbon footprint by choosing to consume less, recycle more, and opt for sustainable alternatives whenever possible. We can support renewable energy sources like solar and wind, which provide clean, green power without contributing to global warming. Let's transition from fossil fuels and embrace these alternatives that are kind to our Earth. We can also use our voices to advocate for climate-friendly policies. Let's hold our leaders accountable, let's demand action, and let's vote for a sustainable future. Remember, our actions today will shape the world of tomorrow. Together, we can turn the tide on global warming and ensure a vibrant blue ocean for generations to come.